Oh, is he in his cowboy era? Come on, please. Oh, he is. I thought he'd just done the hat. He's got the pose, man. Yes, perfect. Right, we better get a shoot off. I'm not going to lie to you, because if we don't, bad episode. Sandpiper. Okay. Oh, you are sunburned on your head, mate. Jesus, did you see that? We're going back. Of course we're going back. Come on. Look at this. Look at that. Hang on. Am I insane? Look at it. Oh, you're well sunburned, mate. I'm so sorry. Can we use that time to apply something to it, like moisturizer, just some, after sun? It's very important.
Mrs. Alma May Urbano.
Wow. Are they really struggling to get one-on-one time with the clients? That's insane.
My name's Jimmy. I tried to visit you at Sandpiper, but they wouldn't allow me to.
Wow. Okay. Sounds right.
Maybe. Was it yellow?
It's canary yellow.
Hey, mate, trademark that. I'll tell you right now. Hang on. Jimmy McGill, yellow. Magello. No, that's not going to work. I'm so sorry. We'll keep spitballing.
Who took Alma May's money?
Well,
Right? Let's raise a mob.
Amos Lydecker.
Yes, you are. That is phenomenal mustache game, man.
mugged Alma May here.
Hello, we got finger guns. I'm telling you right now, man, I feel a shootout coming. I'm not going to nail down straight on that theory. I will be honest with you. Like, don't hold me to it. Also, slight note, by the way, let's not forget that, again, this is very similar. Almost. I think a very light offence, if I'm honest, but very similar to the billboard stuff. Slightly bent side of getting what he needs. He's paid off this driver. But then at the end of the day, it's an interesting moral question because we now know as the audience, Sandpiper are stopping for Davis and May and actually coming and talking to these old folks and helping them. I come down on the side of like, that's wrong. They're entitled as free people on this earth to talk to Jimmy, to talk to HHM, to have that advice and to go forward with it, right? The opposition getting in the way of these guys' rights. It's interesting again how we are being more and more, I think, as we've come into season 2, have these examples of kind of moral greyness. It's kind of bad, but it's kind of good as well, right? Which is absolutely everything we're seeing characteristically from Jimmy this season. Flitting back and forth, this spectrum and this balance, I guess, coming in between a little bit of the good and the bad. He's bribed the guy so he can talk to them, but like the only reason he's had to do that is because the opposition, people that I guess Chuck would be going against every single day in this world where of upholding this law that is supposed to be sacred. Chuck's words, the opposition in this case, in my mind, not letting the law do its work. They're keeping these folks from legal representation. So it's interesting when we have that, sorry, I'm not going to let that go. That whole thing that Chuck has of upholding the law to this standard that's keeping in his mind Jimmy outside of it. There's so many cracks in, I feel like, Chuck's perception of the law and the way that he's holding it above Jimmy in the way that he is, even from the opposition here, lawyers that Chuck's going to be going against, probably has gone against every single day. They're using the law to swindle these folks. That's not good. And so, sorry, long-winded way of, I guess, defending Jimmy. Yeah, he's doing everything he can, drawing on every part of himself to get the job done and to do the morally, I think, right thing for these folks and get them the legal representation that they deserve.
Alma May, let's say you're out on a date with your boyfriend. You do have a boyfriend.
Hello,
right?
I'm involved.
You don't?
Yeah, she does. Come on.
$24 for a side of buttermilk biscuits? That doesn't sound right now, does it?
Again, small note, his manner with the client is so accomplished. That's where he shines. Again, Chuck can't do this. The way that he's explaining it to them in a way that gets them on side and gets the job done. It's very unique to Jimmy. He's showing levels and depths to his proficiency as a lawyer that, again, Chuck's not giving him credit for.
Thank you, Henry.
All of them. Nice. Dude. Got the job done, didn't he? Hello and welcome to another Better Call Saul Sunday, the show that happens every single Sunday until we are finished with it, mate. Today, episode 3 of season 2. It is called Amarillo, and without further ado, let's see what it holds. Flamingo check. Sorry, 1 second.
Schweiker and Coakley are pursuing an aggressive strategy.
Schweiker and Coakley. Coakley I might remember. Schweiker, we'll see.
I don't think it's going to play with this magistrate judge.
Okay, good. Oh, Chuck's involved. Of course he is.
On cases like this.
Chuck, man, you just sat there looking at Jimmy like, get your head in the game, dude.
Jimmy?
Oh, come on, mate. Yeah, you got to get your head in the game too, dude.
To save you from having to brag. That's 3 weeks. Well done, Jim.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yes. Chuck, say that as well.
We're in the process of mapping out the entire Southwest, targeting the
Oh, Hamlin. There's a little look of pride there.
entire Southwest.
Look at that. Oh.
Colorado Springs, Fort Worth, Provo. That's just for starters.
Kim's face as he's talking. Look at this.
Colorado Springs, Fort Worth, Provo. That's just for starters.
Oh, she's looking at Howard. Sorry, she did. There's a slight shift to her eyes. And it is, I feel like there's this glimpse of Howard here and the look of almost pride that I've seen on his face before as well. Obviously, Kim, who I think, you know, mirrors that and shares that as well. And you see a shift in her eyes. And I was like, oh, what's that? And she's looking at Howard. They share a look and she smiles. And she's like, you know, and it might just be a polite thing. Fair enough. I'm going to see it as them, they're both kind of sharing a look of like, look at this boy. Oh, he's doing well, isn't he? And maybe as well, I've talked before about obviously Kim giving the accolade to Howard in going to Davis and Maine, talking to them, Howard giving it to Kim. Maybe they're in cahoots a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Let's not forget. In Pimento, it was Kim who went to Howard, and actually Howard who'd kind of brought her back and opened up to her. I wonder whether actually there was a little bit more to that. On some level, a beginning of a new aspect to their relationship as well, and actually opening up to each other, becoming more friends. We'll see as we go on, I suppose. But sorry, that's what that makes me think of. And I wonder actually whether, yeah, they're almost in this as shadow allies to Jimmy against Chuck. There, she looks at Jimmy. Slight shift in the eyes and a little smile.
My goal, another 200 by the end of the month.
Yeah, Chuck not happy.
Plaintiffs for the classes in each district.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Look forward
buddy.
to the next.
Oh, another look of pride from Hamlin. Oh, and interesting how we're doing looks around the table, huh? Let's look at this. Look at Chuck's face that I've paused on there. That's pretty much representative of how his face has been this whole time. And then look at this. Look at Hamlin. As his face shifts from that side of the table to the other side of the table. Happy, pleased. Looking at Chuck here, I think. And look at that. Look at his face drop.
The next report. Onto a...
Oh, and a little flicker in the eyes as well from him. And I think he's clocking Chuck. I think he checks himself, reminds himself of this dynamic. And I think his own personal dynamic with Chuck. And maybe not wanting to give too much away. I don't think he's going to. Chuck's not looking at him at all, but... yeah, this drop of the face, little eye flicker. Then the camera literally goes to Chuck and it's like, look who he's looking at, exactly. And I think we're about to hear from the big man.
Sorry, before we move on, back to quiet outreach, just for a moment.
Of course you would. How are you going to on this, mate?
Really astonishing result.
Condescending bitch.
Your last trip to Amarillo, you came back with 22 new clients.
Is he going to be like, how you doing that? Yeah.
How many people out there actually responded to our direct mailer?
One.
Yeah, Howard sees what's he's watching him.
But you got 24 new clients from this one response?
Oh my God. He is. He's going to the method. He's going to be like, how did you get this? In his head, you know he's thinking like, what did you swindle? Who did you swindle? Who did you pay off? This is the kind of clever thing that they've done in the way that they did that. And it's what I was talking about as well. Chuck's right. he's wrong morally, I feel, from the way he's coming at it and why he's even making a big deal about it anyway. But he's right. He paid off the bus driver to get that conversation. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this is what I brought up. I don't know if it was last episode, the episode before, but I did say how long until Chuck's vendetta against Jimmy that we're seeing here right now, how long until that gets in the way of Davis and Maine and HHM's collaboration against Schweikert and Coakley. Because not being funny, he is. Jimmy's an asset. We've just seen that. If Chuck at this point throws any level, any shade of doubt on Jimmy, it's going to make the other guys, maybe not Howard so much, but like Cliff, look at him more disfavorably, I would say. I feel like that, at least from Chuck's perspective, is his goal right now. Maybe even go further than that and be like, Jimmy can't be trusted. He's liable to get us in trouble and ruin this whole case. Chuck is creating divisions from within by doing this. I think going back to what he did and actually paying off the bus driver, I think he was in the moral right to do that. Considering Schweikert and Coakley's methods, I think there was more moral fodder, moral good on Jimmy's side than moral bad in that situation. And so, sorry, again, I come back to this thing of Chuck, he's upholding the law to this standard to the point that Jimmy, the chimp with the machine gun, is not allowed to practice it because in his hands, it's dangerous. In my eyes, in this moment, in his intent, and we know his intent as the audience because we've seen the rest of the show, I think he's directly working against this pristine image of the law that he says he stands up for. I think in his actions against Jimmy right now, he's actually contradicting himself. That decision from Chuck's perspective, I mean, it's selfish, it's egotistical, blah, 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 blah. It's not got the client in mind. If anything, he's putting the law above the client. And it's like, like in this respect where you're not representing a murderer, right? You're not representing someone who, I don't know, you're maybe not sure if they've done it or not. They might not necessarily be a bad person, whatever. It's clear cut. These old folks haven't done anything wrong. They're being manipulated. They're being swindled. And rather than be like, well done, Jimmy, you got those guys on board. Now we can actually help them, because that's the goal, to help them. He's like, nah, the guy who actually got us closer to helping these people, maybe we should get rid of him. In this moment, he's putting the law above the client. The client in this case not being morally ambiguous, by the way. I think in that respect, that puts Chuck at least on the moral scale below, in the negative. And like I say, I think he makes him a hypocrite on the way that he came at Jimmy in Pimento and the things that he was saying, the way that he put the law above everything else. He's going against that right now. Or if anything, no, I guess in a certain way, he's all on board on the law train to the detriment of the client who he should be helping.
Might not some parties, the opposing counsel, for example, conclude that there may have been some solicitation involved? I'm just wondering how you account for your success.
God.
Chuck, I'm sure that...
Ooh, Howard being the first one to raise his voice against Chuck and be like, nah, just calm down, mate.
Chuck, I'm sure that...
Ooh, and the raising of a finger silences Howard's words against him. And you see in that little interaction Chuck's power over him.
I went to Amarillo to confer with a client. Solid, good.
Oh, Cliff nodding. Yes.
Dorothy in phase 2 gets a new rascal scooter. It's big news.
So these other
And I certainly didn't have to go knocking on any doors.
True. Not the full truth, admittedly, but he didn't knock on any doors. Not being funny, when Chuck's playing dirty like this, I'm fully for Jimmy playing dirty. I am.
With all that in mind, I should have done better.
Well played. I am worried at Kim's face actually in the background there. I think she is going... She knows. She absolutely knows. I think from how last episode ended, she knows that he did something. And I think you can kind of see that in the way that she is in the background here. Look at this.
I gotta tell you,
look at Kim here.
With all that in mind,
she's very stoic.
Chuck,
Yeah.
we good to move on?
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a little battle waged between Chuck and Jimmy there. Jimmy came out on top. And that's the interesting thing, actually, because Chuck was coming at him in the way that obviously Chuck is always going to come at him. And Jimmy very much fell back on his slipping Jimmy there, I think. He was in a little bit of a hot situation. Let's not forget, he started and approached it and phrased it in a way that had them all laughing. It eased the tension, right, created by Chuck, which is a great technique to get people on your side. And I think he does that right at the beginning. I'm going to go back.
solid, good.
I like that nod by Cliff, by the way, just briefly, because it shows that Cliff wants him to succeed.
Phase 2 gets a new rascal scooter. It's big news.
So
Boom.
these other 20...
Girl next to him, she starts laughing. I'm sure she wasn't the only one. Like I say, this war being waged across the table here. Chuck coming, obviously, in the way that he's going to come at him. Jimmy, I think, using his charm, using that little subtle technique of not necessarily telling the truth, but not lying either. I think Chuck, I think Kim, those two people, I think they both know that he did something. Kim, I think maybe he's going to have a word with Jimmy in private and be like, what happened? You got to be careful. That kind of conversation we'll see. But I think for Chuck, he was very much outplayed here. Slipping Jimmy is honestly very powerful, right? We've seen that he can use his words, wield his words in a way that gets the job done. Twice in this episode already. It's the first battle in this war, I'd say. Jimmy won it. It's going to make Chuck come at him all the harder, I think, as we go forward, which I'm nervous. I will be honest with you. I think if he keeps going like this, with Chuck coming at him like this as well, he's going to get caught.
We good to move on?
Yeah, and Jimmy knows he won. Look at that face. I see. Reluctant, kind of, doesn't even want to say. I think that's so perfect for his characterization and everything we know about him, that his ego wouldn't let him say the words. He was just like, move on. Come on, Howard.
Dot our I's and cross our T's here. Invaluable. So, thank you.
And bless Cliff for, rubbing his ego again. 'Cause look at his face.
It is absolutely vital that
We
we dot
linger
our
on
I's
Chuck.
and cross
The
our
reason
T's
for
here.
that.
Invaluable.
And then
So,
Cliff saying what he's saying makes Chuck kind of break from that a little bit and go like, yeah, I am the clever one, aren't I? Brilliant character work in this scene. Just from Kim, from Jimmy, Chuck, Cliff, and Howard. Those five in this scene. I mean, this scene's been really short. I'm so sorry. I've talked so much. Let me just have a quick look. 4 minutes. It's kind of a long scene, actually. But the back and forth around the table and the use of the camera focusing on certain characters and having certain characters in the background, showing all of these looks back and forth. gives you so much.
The price of excellence is eternal vigilance.
Indeed.
More to those words, isn't there?
And individually.
Oh, hello.
It makes sense to designate someone.
And Jimmy's going to reach out, I bet you. Yeah.
That we create a small team at D&M that
Yeah.
in all elements.
No. She knows he did something. She knows he did something. And I think the reason he reached out was because he needed... Chuck came for him. Chuck was hitting this, sensitive point, this pressure point of everything that supplies so much trauma for Jimmy's character. And bless him, he was reaching out for comfort in that moment, I think, with that. And I think... yeah, Kim pulling away is very much confirming she knows he did something, especially going informed from the end of last episode into this scene, and she's not happy. Seeing again these cracks in their relationship that I keep talking about, I don't think this is destined to last at all. I think she's identified what I've identified, in that if Chuck keeps coming at him like this, if people keep coming at him like this, he's going to get caught. I think that's where this lies with her. I think that's the crux of the issue with why she's upset right now.
HM on anything.
Brian, I'm sorry, excuse me for interrupting.
No.
I just want to say that I take Chuck's point.
No, this is stupid. Oh, he's overcompensating.
So I'm going to pull back. No more meet and greets at the Sandpiper facility.
No, this makes you feel guilty. This was silly. That was completely motivated by Kim spurning him there. And dude, you didn't help yourself. That was so silly. He came out on top and he made himself look weak by approaching it again and backing down.
Hey, Kim, where can I get a copy of that Niederman deposition?
I've got an extra Niederman, Jimmy. You can have one of mine.
Bless this girl.
No worries.
Erin.
Where'd I put that?
Mate.
Thanks, that's
Dude, oh, Erin. Oh, I'm sorry, mate.
solicitation. Let me tell you.
Yeah, here we go.
What happened in Texas?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Stop it, Jimmy. You're not helping yourself.
Jimmy, you know solicitation can get you disbarred. This
Right, we're back on this.
Well, here's what I think matters. 24 senior citizens now have representation.
Yeah.
Before I went, they didn't even know they were getting ripped
Yeah.
off. Now they have us in their corner. How is that not a win?
And do you know what? That's a very interesting... I think, from what I've seen, Jimmy is the lawyer at the moment. Almost his perception of the law is healthier in its intent, at least, than Kim's and Chuck's. Because Kim is like, no. By the letter of the law, you can't get disbarred. You can't do anything that's going to jeopardize that, even if that means actually helping the client, actually helping an innocent person that's been exploited. And so it's like, it's interesting. She's like, no, this could get you disbarred. And he's like, no, hang on. Bottom line, I got the job done. I help people that were being exploited. And now we can help them against this entity that is doing everything it can to harm them, manipulate them, exploit them. Jimmy's got a point. As much as she's saying, and as much as Kim's got a point, right? She has. And I think, if he is caught, he's going to get disbarred. I have a feeling that happens. The conversation framed by just this interaction here, very interesting to think about. And look, Jimmy's playing with fire, but he's got these innocent people in mind, their interest in mind, which I find hard not to get behind.
You said in there you'd find another way. Did you mean it?
Sure, absolutely.
I'll be honest with you, I'm still concerned about Erin, mate. Is she still looking? Do you know what I mean?
I put myself on the line to get you this job.
Did she?
I thought it was because I'm sensational with old
Did
people.
she?
Yeah, and who do you think told him that? You know I believe in you.
Yeah, she does. I believe that, yeah.
And now everything you do reflects back on me. With Howard, because ultimately I talked him into going out on a limb for you too.
Right. So it's a bit of both then. She talked him into it. I don't know. I feel like she's not giving Howard enough there as well. I feel like Howard does see the merits of Jimmy as well. I think they both had fodder for saying that the other one talked to Davis and Maine. I don't think either of them were necessarily lying, but I think it was both of them from what she just said. But yeah, I think there's a little bit more on Kim's side of it than I thought, really. And it's interesting how she frames that. If Jimmy fails, she fails, which introduces a nice little nugget of catastrophe for later on, doesn't it?
With Howard, because ultimately I talked him into going out on a limb for you too.
But he was talked into it. You couldn't have talked him into that if he didn't want to go for it, if he didn't see anything in Jimmy. Do you know what I mean? That's why I say, I think from Howard's perspective as well, he does believe in Jimmy.
You and I both know you can do this job.
Yeah. And I think this is getting through to Jimmy as well.
Please, you just have to do it right.
There it is. Oh, sounds very like Chuck as well, doesn't she? Very much not presenting it in the same way, not being as harsh, as cruel as Chuck by any means. Very Chuck-like.
Why don't you give his foot a squeeze?
I do not appreciate more scenes with Mike and his granddaughter. I'll be honest with you, it's already painful. Do you know what I mean? Don't add to it.
That should get you through to next month.
Bless him.
I didn't get much sleep. My head's...
Why?
You tell me it's none of my business, I'll drop it.
Bless him.
Last 2 nights I heard gunshots.
I'm staying here tonight.
Bless him. Say what you want about Mike's morality and, whether he's a good person, bad person, whatever. Well, I say that because what I'm about to say is he's a nice guy. He's such a nice guy. don't get on the wrong side of his gun, but like,
Please don't make me sorry, I told you.
he's gonna camp out in the car in the front. Easy.
Get your supper.
Supper, papa. Sorry, I don't know why that made me think of Great Expectations. Yeah, an interesting moral quandary for Jimmy now. It's like, do I keep going the way I'm going that makes me feel good and makes me feel like I can do this? Or do I bring it back for Kim now a little bit? Do I shift that spectrum, that scale back a little bit to accommodate Kim?
Yeah, and how many response cards came back? 0.
Damn, seriously. See, that's not okay. You've got to be inventive to get around that, right?
We should be getting responses of like 12 to 15%. I'm thinking it's the staff.
Oh, you got a nice tie, I'll be honest with you, Jimmy. I'm not being funny, and I think I'm wrong. I will be completely honest with you, but I'm going to throw it out there. It feels like Chuck's got his hand in this. I don't know, a little bit to do with why these mailers are, and like, it's in character for him to get in the way of Jimmy's job, right? Especially the way that he went in that meeting, and he did lose. Chuck lost. A man like him, an egotistical man like him, we've seen that. A man used to having supreme power over most people, if not all people in his life, especially professionally. I don't know, first inklings of maybe he's actually sabotaging Jimmy actively. We'll see.
Guess you better think of another way.
I think I got it. TV commercial. Highly targeted.
Hello.
They always leave 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. free. Why? Murder, She Wrote.
Clever.
Let me tell you, when that thing comes on, it draws the blue hairs like moths to a bug zapper.
Again, and I am going to draw attention to it every time he kind of does it, but making Cliff laugh. Making Cliff like him as a person.
It's not exactly my go-to, but generally speaking, I'm open to it.
Nice.
We will talk next week.
Great.
Great.
It's like he says, highly targeted and interesting as well. If he actually pulls this off, if it actually works, he's kind of proving that he can do it. If he really puts his mind to it, if he has the motivation. I talk a lot about Chuck's motivation and him last episode coming into the office and his motivation, lack thereof, for not being able to. But Jimmy, if he's given the right motivation, in this instance, Kim, and their conversation and how she feels, maybe he can think of alternate ways to do things that are within the confines of the law, right? Which provides a really interesting question of, could he have done this more? Does he too easily move back towards slipping Jimmy? Even if you were going to say that, I think there's adequate empathy or sympathy from my perspective based on what happened last season, and obviously going into Marco in showing us why he's like this and gone more, more prone to going back to slipping Jimmy, right, with the ring and everything. I'd be sympathetic if that was the reason. I'm inclined to think that, yeah, he does perhaps slip, ironically, back towards slipping Jimmy as a default. Especially now, when he doesn't have to.
If you or a family member have been diagnosed with...
Remember, they worked real hard to get that just right.
To get
It's
what
boring.
just right?
Yeah, what?
The swirl.
God.
Nebulous, but not too nebulous.
Look at his face. A man who has made it his business to persuade people. That's what a con man is. And seeing the way that these people in this clean-cut world try and persuade people of things. Like, they need Jimmy. Jimmy's the only one who can see this stuff. Yeah, this look at that face of kind of like disbelieving of, seriously? This is what you came up with? They're no Marco, let's put it that way.
At 505-242-7700.
Too much info. They tuned out. I tuned out. And hey, it's interesting the comparison between that and his Better Call Saul ad. And the way that they're so different. And accuse him all you want of cheesiness, of looking like a hack or whatever. I don't know what episode it was when he first saw Junior. And Junior was like, wait, you're the guy from the ad. And he instantly recognized him. There's something in that, I think. Say what you want about his Better Call Saul ad. Jimmy knows how to get into the minds of people, and not being funny, that's that's most of what ads are for. They're not even necessarily advertising something to you. They are putting something in your mind, something that you are going to remember in the moment when you need that thing. It's silly. You skip the ads for the most part, but you see the first clip of it, you get that brand in your head, and then you go to the store, you don't know what to pick, and suddenly that brand is there, and it's like, well, I've seen that. That must be legit. I'll get that. That's part of how ads work in selling something to you, in raising their profile in your mind. And even if that's just getting in your head and making you remember it, that's enough. His Saul ad in the future, we have evidence for in the show, works. It gets in your head. It makes you remember. I think all of that information is demonstrative of how good Jimmy is. I want to say manipulating people, but understanding people. I've referenced that before, and I think that kind of makes him good at his job as a lawyer as well. But yeah, I think he's really, really good at understanding people.
Whatever happened to showmanship?
This happens to be very valuable.
Is that the Alpine Shepherd boy?
What is it?
This one is,
it is
the Alpine Shepherd boy.
Nice. Reference, I like it. Oh, this is the camera guy, right? From the billboard, I think.
See $1 here?
You guys didn't bring a dolly.
Guys, you call yourself professionals?
They turned the heat off.
So that's it? Old lady in the chair? Chair commercial.
Does anybody like you?
I love it. Every time this man eats a sandwich now, it's going to be amazing. I told you he'd be outside with a car. Oh, I want a sandwich now, god damn it. Again, little snippets back to Mike's story. It's very interesting. Again, this seems to be nothing as well, right? So I'm like, how is this going to turn into something? Oh. It's funny, isn't it? Something that makes Mike so good, it's his patience. Huh. So she's a little paranoid, maybe. My man, you're going straight to... Dude, you need some sleep. Bless him.
Hey, honey, what's happening? What's wrong?
Oh, God. No. Seriously, after all that, something actually did happen?
Where's Kaylee?
You see that? You see the shape of it?
Oh, God.
You do see it, right?
I see it.
Yeah, is she,
What time did you hear the shots?
2:13 this morning. It was exactly like last time.
Interesting.
You think maybe it's possible that you dreamed it?
I didn't dream it, Mike.
Yeah, she's got something going on here.
Okay. Okay.
Bless him. And he is empathetic, so I don't think he's not going to tell her that he was hit. He's not going to tell her that he was there.
I believe you.
Bless him. Yeah, clearly something's going on with her.
That's it. We're getting you and Kaylee out of this house.
Yeah, it's funny that as well, isn't it? Because clearly something's going on with her mentally, and she's associating it with maybe this house, this place. Let's not mince words. She has got to be dealing with some level of trauma, right? She lost her partner to something that was... I mean, and look, this has only started ever since Mike told her. She wasn't experiencing this before as well, so you've got to be thinking Mike's got to feel a little culpable. He's not. He was just honest. He was doing his thing. But I think from his perspective as a character, he's going to be feeling culpable because that's when she started dreaming or hearing stuff or whatever, right? This house started terrorizing her, or not even the house, just things started terrorizing her. Her mind started terrorizing her. It's a good idea to, I think, from his perspective, for him to say, let's get you out of that house, because sometimes a big change like that can, I mean, clearly it's in her head. We know that. That's the point. We know that he was here. We know that nothing happened. Very important to identify that, show that to the audience, so the audience can identify that there's something, going on with her. People all the time, they shave their heads, they dye their hair, people change things about them, or they move or whatever. And it helps because it's almost like a letting go of the trauma, being like, we're going to get you out of the house and maybe move on. Really seeing lots of empathy from, I mean, I say that like it's a new thing. It's not a new thing, but yeah, seeing a lot of empathy from Mike this episode. It just makes you love him, doesn't it, really? But my man, you gotta get some sleep, please.
Every corporate apartment in the world.
Wow, this is a nice place.
Why do they all have to have empty vases?
Well, it's the law. Plus, it's a metaphor. Resident of Sandpiper, Colorado Springs.
Setting the scene, very important.
They told me they'd take care of everything.
This is perfect.
You may be eligible to receive compensation.
That's brilliant.
You made that? It looks professional. And if I were an 86-year-old Sandpiper resident,
yes,
I'd be dialing.
Boom.
And all made in accordance with the rules and regulations of the American Bar Association.
There we go. He can do it. This is an interesting precedent to set.
I can't believe Davis and Maine went for it.
Oh God, they haven't?
I'm in charge of the department.
Yeah, but still, Cliff Maine was fine with this.
He didn't ask.
It's fantastic.
He didn't ask. She didn't question that at all. Oh, bless her. Yeah, he's not run it past him. Dude, just show him. Just show him. Persuade him. Come on. Take it. Take it. Thank you. Okay. Oh, God, what's going to happen, though? I bet he's going to come back and he's going to distract him. He's not going to show him it. Chuck's going to be here? Please, no. Oh, come on, go in. Oh, God damn it. He's not going to do it, is he? My man. Yeah, I was going to say before, sets a dangerous precedent going forward. If he puts his mind to it, he can work that creativity that he has for Slipping Jimmy, that Slipping Jimmy part of himself. He can work that within the confines of the law in regards to not getting disbarred or putting his job at risk and his opportunity at risk. He can do that. And I think that kind of shows you that perhaps he maybe does sometimes, maybe a lot of the time, revert to that default of going outside of the rules.
KKTV Channel 11.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only reason I feel like he wouldn't run that by Cliff and go in and talk to him and show him it, because I think we've seen enough that I'm convinced that he could. I think if he went to Cliff, he could persuade him. This episode has gone out of its way to show us he's persuasive. Starting with the first scene on the bus, persuades all those people to get on board. Second scene in the conference room, he wins against Chuck. He persuades them all he did it legit. Third, he works on the film student and he persuades them to shoot the exact thing he wants, right? This episode has been constructed to show the audience that he's a persuasive person. We've seen that already, but this episode particularly has been like, look at what he can do. There's no doubt in my mind, if Jimmy went to Cliff, there's a way. If he put his mind to it, if he was motivated enough, he's not, he could persuade him to use this, and he's not. What does that tell you? I'm disappointed by that, but I think it tells you that he does fall back. There's a need within him to go outside the rules. At least for the moment, I think I'm seeing it through a shade of the straight and narrow way. Did it by the rule book. That's too Chuck for him. He can't do it that way. Something in him won't let him anymore. He has to kind of prove almost to himself and to this shadow version of Chuck, right, in his head, that he can get it done in a way that Chuck couldn't. He's not associating himself with this cult of Chuck, this idealism of Chuck, in Chuck's idea of what the law is and how you should do things. And it's interesting, even Kim is not enough motivation to get him over the finish line. He's got to have a little sliver of something, not quite by the rules. It sets a dangerous precedent, because this episode has shown that he can do it by the rule book if he really puts his mind to it, but that he doesn't want to.
I know a loan shark. Most of the time, we're just talking intimidation.
Most of the time. I'm not breaking legs. What else?
We've seen that he does get to that point, though.
I respect where you're coming from on this thing. I do. But that's just how it goes.
So he didn't want to go into that. The future that we know for him, we see here that he never wanted that. And his motivation, big episode for motivations, right? For going where he goes and where he ends up in Breaking Bad. It's all incited by Matty's wife. Sorry, I'm so sorry. What's her name? I have lost track. I've forgotten the granddaughter's name, if I'm completely honest. Kelly and Kelly's mum. I'll get her name, I swear to God. But helping them out is his prime motivation.
Give me the bodyguard, John.
For 200?
He's fighting against it. He doesn't want to commit to something a little more.
The call doesn't go to an answering machine, right? Because it's very important.
Trying to hide it. It needs to work as well, by the way. God, if this doesn't work, he's getting in trouble for nothing. Yeah, suddenly something that shouldn't have been has turned into a huge risk for him again.
Come on.
And I think his desire for wanting it to work as bad as this, sitting by the phone being like, come on, is in his head another win for him against Chuck, I think. His method proving the supreme.
Good afternoon, Davis and Main attorneys at law. Now, to get your...
Nice. Okay. Ooh. It worked. And you could have done it the right way. Buddy, man. You could have talked to Cliff. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Big episode for Jimmy winning. It's not going to last, though. It can't. He's being too reckless.
Something came in this evening, and it's definitely next level pay.
Hello.
What's the job?
I asked. The guy wouldn't tell me.
Okay.
He specifically asked for you.
Nacho.
And who's the guy?
Gotta be, right?
Check this out. This is a good part.
Oh, he's gonna get a call. Is Jimmy gonna get a call from Cliff?
Ice Station Zebra is on the North Pole. The thing takes place on the South Pole.
By the way, if you're interested, I did cover the thing. There is a thing video on my channel, mate. Hey, have a little look. Pretty good if I do say so myself. Oh, God. Yeah. Is it actually? I can't believe I'm right. Yeah, I saw it coming.
You ran a commercial?
Oh.
Did you actually think that was gonna fly?
You did tell me client outreach was my department.
Don't be disingenuous.
Yeah.
Howard said you were a little eccentric. He didn't tell me you were a goddamn arsonist.
Interesting. Howard said that he was a little eccentric. So sorry, there's a little bit of wordplay going on. That conversation between Hamlin and Chuck, he gave me the impression as the audience that he told Davis and Main and Cliff, basically, of slipping Jimmy. He didn't. That's the impression he gave Chuck, I think. I think Cliff's word there of like, he said you were a bit eccentric. It's not quite the same, is it, of the impression that Howard gave to Chuck and to us. Oh, God. Oh, man. Cliff doesn't know.
He didn't tell me you were a goddamn arsonist.
How is it that bad, though? Can I just ask?
I don't think
it's that bad. Clearly it is. I don't know why, though.
I apologize if there was any misreading of the situation.
Bad apology. Don't say if there was misreading. Just say, I'm sorry that there was misreading. It's easy.
We got 103 phone calls today.
Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Cliff, when you see this...
I know you.
You should have just showed him. It's not even bad.
Yeah, Cliff. Yeah, you too.
hiding it from Kim now as well. Dude, you are racking up so much debt here. A bad will. Jimmy. Gotta be Nacho, hasn't it? And then, you know, through Nacho to Tuco to Gus, I guess. We must be seeing Gus at some point in this show. This looks like Gus.
Feeling cautious?
No, it's Nacho.
This problem, is it a who or a what?
There's a guy.
Whatever it is, Mike's gonna solve it.
I need him to go away.
Oh, wow. That is intense. Yeah, the Mike of Breaking Bad, isn't this Mike? Mike in Breaking Bad was going to people, killing them, you know, threatening to break legs or whatever else, right? We saw that with Saul. Obviously, he went to Lydia. Do you know what I mean? He's not that. He's resisting that right now. And I think the characterization for him is, yeah, okay, fine. He was a dirty cop, right? We know that. Yeah, and that's bad. There's a difference between being a dirty cop and being a thug. Being someone who is a gun for hire that is willing to kill, maim, intimidate, all that stuff that we know him for. I think there's a distinction between the dirty cop and that. And I think he's drawing lines. We know that he has a code. He's a very codified person. And I think that goes against his code. And I think, yeah, he's fighting against it. On a moral scale, his motivation is good, right? He's trying to get Kelly and her mom into a better place, to sort out whatever's going on with her and ease her mind and make sure she's okay, right? That's pure and good and great and everything. And I think that's going to be enough. Oh, well, we know that's enough. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not exactly that. Maybe it's going to be a bit of a snowball and we're going to go further and further and further. Who knows? But as a root cause of the motivation that he's got in him right now in this decision of moving from that to that dirty cop to gun for hire, I think it's enough. I think it's enough to get him started. Yeah. Sorry, I'm so sorry for that pause. There it is. Do you know what? I don't think that I've got anything much more to say. TLDR, I guess. Oh, very dangerous things for Jimmy going forward. I think even now we're seeing all the ways that this is going to go wrong for him. He's got Chuck coming for him. He's got himself in his own actions, sabotaging himself. I think the most damaging thing to Jimmy right now is this need within him to do things the wrong way. And I think that's very much rooted in what happened with Chuck and his relationship with Chuck. Everything that Chuck was trying to get me to be, everything that I was trying to be for Chuck, I can't do that anymore. Chuck's actions have meant that he can't do that. As well as that, he's actively gonna run away from that and towards, because the only other alternative if he hasn't got that is slipping Jimmy. And I think this episode has proven that he doesn't have to do that. He can play by the rules, he can do that. There's something in him that can't because of Chuck. And again, that's his decision. You know, it sounds like, again, I'm putting a lot on Chuck. It's his decision and it's stupid and he needs to get over that. He needs to mature over that. He absolutely does. I think, you know, we see that he doesn't. I think we know that he doesn't. I don't have any faith that he will get over that because maybe he will and it'll be too late and that's why he goes into Saul and what we know. But disappointing, painful to see. And, you know, you see now how that is going to sabotage his relationship with Kim, relationship with Cliff and Davis and Maine. Through that, HHM, Hamlin and Chuck is going to get what he wants. And as much as he was winning this episode, you know, winning those battles, he's going to lose the war, I think. So yeah, we'll see on that front. But yeah, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching this episode of Better Call Saul Sundays. If you enjoy this, hey man, go down, subscribe. There's also a video right here that YouTube has specially recommended for you, man. Just click on it. Hey, go on. Hey, treat yourself. You're welcome. Thank you, as always, to my beautiful patrons. Genuinely, you give me so much support and it helps me so much. Thank you to the rest of you as well. We'll be back next weekend with content all in between as well. Other than that, I'll see you soon.